For the Person County Board of Commissioners to order this time and say that we do have a quorum. However, Commissioner Gentry is absent. At this point in time, we don't yet have her on the line, but anyway, we'll proceed with the quorum they have. And I'll lead us in an invocation, and Commissioner Palmer will lead our Pledge of Allegiance. If you so desire, please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day that you've given us, the help, strength, and opportunity of this nation to assemble here today to conduct the business of this county. May we have guidance from you in all that we do and say and undertake to make Person County a better place for our citizens to live, work, and raise their children. And we seek your guidance. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
All rise. Take your hats off, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
First on our agenda is discussion, adjustment, and approval of the agenda as stated with one change, and I'd like to add a closed session at the end of our meeting for attorney-client privilege. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A motion to accept the amendment or the agenda with the amendment as stated. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. At this point in our meeting, we do set aside a time period for informal comments. And so at that time, we will proceed if we have
Yes, sir. We have 3 individuals signed up. Three.
Thank you. And go ahead.
All right,
If
did
you
you
call
want
them
to
out,
set up-
please.
Yes, sir. The first one is Mr. Bob Brower of Roxborough.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
My name is Bob Raleigh. I'm a resident of Person County. I'm also chairman of the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee. I'm speaking today on the Republic contract amendment, and specifically the provision contained within to allow for free dumping for county residents. I first heard about this provision from a former chairperson, Ray Jeffers. And I thought this is a great benefit because it could help some of our residents who may not be able to afford a regular trash service. It can also help prevent illegal dumping and litter on our roadsides. So I reached out to Republic in February of this year to understand better how they were implementing this provision. So I could assist and help communicating this to the community. And
Yes, sir. And Mr. Brower, I apologize. We do have 3 signed up, so we're looking at about 3 or 3.5 minutes per person. So sorry to interrupt what
Okay.
you've got there. So
Yeah, I don't think I'll take
thank you very much. I'm sorry.
much time. But I reached out in February to Republic to understand again how they were implementing this provision of the contract. Didn't receive a response. I followed up basically every 4 to 6 weeks thereafter. I've still not received a response. So at this time, I'd like to request that this board set a deadline of 60 days for implementation of this process, not exceeding 60 days, certainly, and also to require some type of periodic review with county management, how the process is going, and if there's any issues. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And
All right, next speaker is Mr. Chris Weaver of Timberlake.
So it's working. I use it all the time. I'm not sure how they're supposed to get that out. But good morning.
good morning.
Short on time here, so we'll get right to the point. Derek Sims, past 2 meetings, you've been questioning in your comments about Economic Development Task Force. And I don't know if you have PJ Gentry's phone number, but I can give it to you. But if you go to the county website, you can see the videos for the Economic Development Task Force. Those things are fantastic. We've been sharing them with the public, and it shows everything that's lacking in this county and everything that we can do in this county. They are fantastic. If you've not seen them, everybody needs to go and watch them. The lack of leadership here is stunning. The Uptown Roxborough group did not even know there was an economic task force looking for a better way. And you're the chair. We are building mediocrity here. We got a Big Lots. We've got a Durham rescue mission. We've got the city building as much cheap housing as they can get away with. Where are we going? We need some real jobs. We need accountability. You learned last May, Kyle, that we had 3 big prospects looking at our mega site that the phone calls were not returned on. Siemens Corporation, Volvo electric truck batteries, and one other. No phone calls, and we still have the same economic development director? Do you put up with that kind of performance at the bank? We need some accountability. We need to work better at this. We cannot have people looking at us from 1,000 feet and then moving on. We need to show them they need to be here. We cannot have an economic development system that fails us like that by not even returning the phone calls. Hiring another person to help, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Not if the person at the top is not returning phone calls. It's stunning. The amount of people leaving this county every day to go work somewhere else is growing. We need to keep those people here. We need to be watching out for our economic tax base between commercial and private. All we have to do is look at Orange County and see what's happened to them. They are nearly 75% on the back of the personal property owner. The rest of it commercial. That's upside down, and it's insanity. And we're going to end up just like that if we don't work to get some real commercial interest in this county. Real commercial interest. The rumor mill says that we just lost a second prospect down to Chatham County for a super semiconductor facility. Would we even know if we lost? Would anybody tell us if we've lost out on these prospects? We need some accountability, and we need to put our heads down and move forward and get something done. We've had 4 years under Donald Trump. Everybody around us is doing fantastic. What are we doing here? We're stagnating. We are absolutely stagnating. Mr. Attorney, there was a closed session at the last meeting. Could you please review and make sure that was indeed the proper use of the closed session? Thank you.
And our last speaker is Mr. John Seep of Samora.
Wow. Appreciate Chris's comments. I had no idea. I'm kind of hitting the same nail. I guess I'll hit it a little differently. Some of you have already expressed you have really no desire to hear from me and don't have any respect for me. Well, how about your constituents? Chris made a comment about how many people leave the county to go work elsewhere. You take a look, you cannot ignore the fact that what you bought last month cost more this month, and definitely more than it did a year ago. At what point do your fellow citizens run out of disposable income? They run out of disposable income. Are they out here buying things that they are now or they were? I went to a restaurant over in Rockingham last night, and on a Sunday night, it's usually packed, and it wasn't last night. I don't know why, but that could be it. Maybe there was a football game that I was unaware of that was a big draw. But at some point, people aren't going to have the money. They're not going to want to be able, they can't afford the gas to go drive down to Durham or Raleigh or wherever they're driving to now, Danville, to go work. We better have some jobs here. The more jobs we have here, the more competition we have. I'm sure we've all seen, if you're at all on Facebook, some McDonald's sign that says $21 an hour. Well, that's not exactly a sign of a healthy economy, but that is a condition that obviously that one store was at. But that's obviously going to be driven by competition for workers. Okay. You got people that own these buildings that have to pay their rent, or they're expecting return on their money. Downtown, I think Chris alluded to, it's either government buildings or it's 501c3s. Businesses are closing. US Tobacco just filed Chapter 11, Mr. Flukier. I can't tell you how upsetting it is to find out that Uptown Roxborough was unaware of the task force, and yet you were here thumping your commissioner while she's recovering from knee surgery, and you're not calling her. The lack of courtesy. I don't care whether or not you give me courtesy. The lack of courtesy and professionalism between you and her was pitiful. That should not happen. I don't care how you treat me. I mean, I do, but I mean, that's between you and God and your parents, your kids, and your girlfriend that's running around town bragging about being your girlfriend at the thrift store. Let's not get it too personal, but I'm sick of it. I am absolutely sick of the same old stuff. For a decade, you can see something hasn't happened here. And you guys commissioned a task force 10 months ago, and you're about to hear the findings. And I hope that it wasn't a waste of some good citizens' time and resources. Just what we need is to flush some more money down the tube and effort, and citizens who took time to try to do something for the betterment of the county, much like I'm doing here. I was in church yesterday because that's where I was supposed to be. And as a citizen of this county, and with this coming up in 2 weeks, this is where a whole lot of citizens and business owners ought to be, because it's a lot more important than a solar farm. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Item number 1, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion or adjustment?
Move for approval.
Have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion. Item number, new business, item number 2, the 9th amendment to the agreement for continued development, use and operation of Upper Piedmont Regional Landfill. Manager York.
Good morning, Commissioners. I wanted to let you know also that Commissioner Gentry says she has been able to sign in, so she's joining us remotely
Thank you.
now, so I wanted to acknowledge that. This is the 9th amendment to the agreement with Republic, and it basically is presenting some clarifying language, the 3 components of the contract that we have. The first is the annual community development payments. There is a new section on there. It's basically the last couple of sentences talking about community partnerships between, or community projects between Republic and the county, that these projects would be decided upon jointly between both Republic and the county, and that they would like to use these projects as a marketing opportunity for Republic. And so that, like I said, the last couple of sentences there are new. Nothing else in it is new besides that. So the community development projects are in collaboration between Republic and the county, and they are trying to highlight this partnership. The next section that is different is they removed section 9.2, which was related to the installation of 3 monopoles on the landfill property. It was determined that the landfill property was not suitable for the monopoles. So they have now decided that they would use the same amount of money that they would have put forward for that and fund our broadband study that we decided to do a few months ago. So it's a swap of the monopoles for the broadband study. And you'll recall that the study is taking an assessment of where we are with broadband and making some recommendations about how we continue to advance that. And we should have the results of that study here within the next month or so. So that's well underway, but we decided to just swap that out because the monopoles were not fruitful out at the landfill. And then the last section was 9.3, and that is in regard to the free residential drop-off of waste. This section looks different. They have taken out any reference to bagged waste. You'll recall when we adopted this last December, that was a bit of a point of contention with a former commissioner, that the language said the waste had to be bagged. So there's no reference to that anymore. This is resetting the calendar because we were allowing residents to drop off up to 2,000 tons. And we didn't have a good way of tracking that, I guess, at the landfill initially. So the 2,000 tons was eaten up very quickly. So we're resetting the calendar for that. And rather than putting a $5,000 value, they're just, they've eliminated that language and just allowed it to be up to a total of 2,000 tons. So those are the changes that they have made in this to help clarify the contract and the implementation of the contract. And I believe that Manager Wade Bailey is also on the Zoom this morning if we have additional questions for him.
Questions of manager, board members?
Heidi, can you hear me, Heidi?
Yeah,
We can hear you.
yeah, we have you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. Now that 2,000 tons is that, okay, so it's no longer bagged, but what's included, and is it limited once they reach that we're done? I just want clarification on this. It's for the entire county residents, but once we reach that threshold, it stops. How are they tracking it? How are they keeping, a tally sheet of residents doing that? And then is it any type of debris, construction, household, or otherwise?
They define this as residential waste, which I think is one of the categories that, that they are there, accepting waste. They categorize different types of waste. So this is limited to just the residential. And you're right, after we reach the threshold of the 2,000 tons accepted, then they begin charging residents for waste as they've always done. And after that, I think it's on a per ton basis. So there's a sort of a fee scale for the amount of waste that's being brought. And Wade may be able to speak to the operations of the landfill a little better than I can.
Sure. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry that I was not able to be there today. So just to kind of clarify that, so the original, spirit of this agreement was for the residents that were coming in and out of the landfill, bringing their waste. So just to kind of, clarify how we track that, all residents bringing in residential waste will come to our scale. They will sign in, showing their ID, right? Proof that they are a county resident. And then they will go over to our drop-off convenience center. And that really consists of 2 40-yard cans that they're able to throw their waste into. Once that can starts to get full, we take a roll-off truck and we hook up to that can, and then we run that across our scale. So that way we have a weight going back to that 2,000 tons that we can match up to. So we track it that way throughout the year. And then I believe, Heidi, we kind of give you a monthly update on that of where we're at on volume. So just to kind of put it in perspective now, I think we're currently at about 750 tons, year to date that we've brought in. And if there's any other questions on the tracking, I would feel free, to answer those at this time. But that's kind of a real quick example of how we're doing it.
Any other comments, Commissioner Gentry?
Sorry, yes, no, that's great. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, just one comment from me. I would point out that all of the provisions of this amendment, including the residential drop-off provision, Section 6 says are effective on the date that this written amendment is signed by both parties, so effective immediately.
Okay, Commissioner Perrier.
What was the amount that were year-to-date residential tonnage taken in by the landfill again?
I think I heard Wade say 750 is what we're currently at. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's actually 742 tons, so little shy of the 750.
And that figure is for as of the end of September or as of current month to date,
It's year to date.
year-to-date?
Yes, sir.
All right, my next question is, if we agree to this and we deem that more people are taking advantage of it and clearly 2,000 is not enough to benefit the people of the county, are we able to come back to the negotiation board, negotiate a higher volume for residential disposal?
I don't think so.
Anything and everything is always subject to negotiation. How successful the county would be with that request, I don't know. But we certainly could discuss it with the county.
I'll make one comment here, and this is Wade that we're,
Wade Bailey?
yeah, Wade Bailey that we're talking to. I fully and totally understand this is a private business, and we do again get that. We understand that you run a business, and I think a lot of people in the county do the same thing under different circumstances. The landfill is a little different. And I will just ask permission to speak freely. It's probably not the most popular business that we have in Person County, but we have it. And we appreciate what you're doing there. From the citizen standpoint, I think we need to do all we can to promote the use of the landfill, make it a place that our citizens feel comfortable in going to and being received there professionally and courteously. At the same time, provide a location for them to take their trash. And if we don't do that in a good and professional manner, convenient to the citizenry, then we're going to wind up with more trash along our highways, which we absolutely do not need in Person County. I wish our citizens would pay more attention to and respect our roadsides, but that's another issue, I guess, for another day. But the convenience of carrying trash to the landfill is going to make a difference because if it becomes a hardship to the citizens, that trash is more than likely going to wind up on our roadsides, and we can all see the impacts of that. So cooperation between Republic and this board and this county is very much appreciated, and we look forward to these changes being beneficial to our county. And we thank you for joining us this morning.
Yes, we thank you, Mr. Powell, and we also are grateful for the relationship that we have there with Person County. Hey, I would add in there that if anyone on our team is being unprofessional in any way to any citizen, please let me know. That's not who we are, and that's not what we're about. And we appreciate the relationship as well.
Thank you, sir.
One more question for Wade. Wade, being that Republic Waste Services has been a corporate partner with Person County for many years, if we see the need to increase this tonnage per calendar year, will Republic Waste Services, being a good corporate partner with Person County, be willing to negotiate a new contract if needed in the future?
That's a good question. Again, I think, relationships are important to us. I think as your attorney said, if it's something that we get to and you all think that there needs to be an increase there, if you would present that to us, hey, we are willing, to kind of take a look at that. I will say this, when we ran these numbers and we did historical information, we have a really good cushion in there whenever you talk about past years. Normally, and I think you can see it, year to date, you're 750 tons. Y'all were, close to 1,000 tons a year. And we put that 2,000 tons in there to give that buffer in case if we ever had a spike. But, absolutely, I think if you get to that point, we would consider and we would see what we could do.
In what ways are you going to promote this to the residents of the county?
So, to Mr. Brower's point, I think he had said he had reached out to us a couple of times. We just wanted to make sure that we got everything passed and we're able to clarify. And I want to go back, it is residential waste. You've got to remember that if there's a special waste stream or something like that that comes in, we have to have that profiled. It's environmental compliance for us, and we've got to protect our asset there and make sure that we're not getting into a gray area and we jeopardize our permit. So promotion wise would be, once this is passed and signed off on, we would like to put that in the newspaper. A couple of things we've done in the past is open houses, to where we communicate things, but obviously with COVID going on, we've kind of stepped away from that now. But hopefully if we start seeing COVID spike down, not only do you have newspaper articles, not only do you have radio advertisement, but when you can do the open house, you can share that info as well. And open house is just bringing, the citizens in, advertising, doing tours of the landfill, educating them about what our business is about and things like that. So there's different ways that we plan to advertise that.
I think we are also hoping to use our Environmental Advisory Committee, which Mr. Brower chairs, as a partner to help publicize some of the components of this contract and help market some of the pieces here. Don't forget, we also have a litter roadside cleanup that is part of this contract where Republic is spending $24,000 a year to help improve roadside waste and dumping. So there are lots of pieces here that we would like to market and to make our residents aware of. And I think Environmental Advisory Board is another avenue to help promote that. So that's what we're hoping for.
That's good. I want to, how does that $24,000 work? Does that go through the county or does it
No.
strictly Republic?
Strictly Republic.
Okay.
Republic has a contract for roadside cleanup.
Okay.
So when I get complaints, I usually call over to the landfill and send them to a site. But I think they have a regular schedule that they are doing across the community. And Wade, you may want to speak to that, as I mentioned that component.
Yeah, that's correct. We bring in a third-party contractor once a month or as needed to pick up trash debris along the roads. And, we've had discussions. We basically expanded that a little bit, Mr. Powell, trying to get to the roadways and the areas where Person County thought was important for us to get to. But again, if there's anything else there that maybe is out of that normal scheduled maintenance and we need to go get that, we will.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, board members? Commissioner Gentry?
No, sir.
Any other comments? Okay. Okay, so
Thank you.
we just need a motion to approve.
Motion to adopt the Ninth Amendment.
We have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Gentry. Item number 3 on the agenda is Runway 6 obstruction removal project. Mr. Ray Fashee.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
The subject I'd like to discuss with you briefly this morning is Runway 6 obstruction removal project at the Raleigh Regional Airport. Some time ago, the FAA notified Raleigh Regional Airport that there are numerous trees or areas of trees that penetrate what they call the TERPS approach, resulting in an increase to the Runway 6 ILS approach from HAT 200 to 250 feet. All that's high technical jargon, but in layman terms, It basically means due to the height of some of the trees around the airport, there were restrictions imposed upon the airport that prevent certain aircraft from landing down there, particularly in inclement weather. The trees that need to be removed have been identified and bids have been accepted for their removal. The lowest responsible bid was $48,250 from KB Earthworks out of Julian, North Carolina. Person County is responsible for 10% matching funds, and that funding has already been budgeted. So this morning, I'd like to authorize the county manager to award this bid and to sign the respective contract. Any questions?
I do have a question. This was put out to our local tree trimmers
Yes, sir. It
and
was.
contractors.
It was put out to advertise and put out, but you had to be on the DOT certified list in order to bid on it because it was a grant funded program.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I want to point out very quickly why this matter is even on your agenda. Very simply, and I think this is an easy, simple matter for you, nothing complicated about it. The county's consultant at the beginning of this procurement process acted as if they were using the formal procurement process that really is intended for larger construction projects. This is a small project in terms of dollars, and the more informal statutory process could have been used, but our consultant did not approach it that way. So since they started that way, my advice to Mr. Bushy was to put this on the board's agenda. The formal procurement statutes provide that the governing body must take action to award the contract. So since we started it that way, I recommended that this be on the board's agenda for the board to authorize award of the contract.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Gentry?
Yeah, so Ellis, can you clarify what I'm hearing you say is that we didn't have to do it this way, but that's the road we ended up down?
Right.
Okay. Was there no mechanism to stop it once it started? Was that the issue?
I don't know the answer to that question, my advice was just simply to avoid any issues, any questions, any challenge from any of the other bidders, that the board take formal action toward this contract to the lowest responsible bidder in the process and put the matter to bid.
So
Okay.
you said a matter of transparency. So we're
Transparency and to avoid any question about whether the county is complying with all of the applicable statutory requirements.
Right. But in the future, if something like this comes up, we have other avenues to access.
We do.
For projects of this size or smaller, if this comes up in the future.
We would just need to discuss with our consultant that assists with airport matters, that there is the much more informal statutory process that is authorized by law for relatively small construction projects.
Okay.
Chairman Powell.
Okay.
yes,
Put that
sir.
in future notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
One more question. How do we go about 10 years from now monitoring the growth on the trees in the surrounding area?
So part of the trees that are being removed are already under an aviation agreement contract on the Madry Farm, which Person County entered into many years ago, that as trees impede this invisible surface, we have the right to go in and remove those. Some of the other trees on the other side of the airport that this involved, this time, the landowners didn't really want to go into the aviation agreement, but they allowed us to go in and gave us permission to go in and remove the trees, which we will basically cut these trees completely down and grub the area. And they should not be an issue for many, many years. But I should add, the reason that we're into this situation now is because the FAA, up until about 3 or 4 years ago, the approach that they had was much narrower. All of a sudden, they passed a regulation that widened it out, and it took in more area, what caused these trees to become an issue. So I could never sit here and say that it will never happen again, because the FAA may change guidelines again.
True. Thank you. Anyone else have a question or comment? What's the pleasure of the board for the request?
Motion for the county manager to authorize the signing of the contract.
A motion, any further discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, likewise.
Aye.
Okay. Now, that was a delayed aye, and that's in favor of, so it is unanimous. Okay, got it. Okay, item number 4, resolution giving notice to all candidates for the office of Person County Sheriff of intention to set the starting salary for such position as provided by law. Manager York.
Good morning, Commissioners, again. This is kind of a housekeeping item, but with an impending election for the office of the sheriff, there's a general statute that governs compensation of employees, including elected officials. And there's another general statute which bases the filing fee on the starting salary of the sheriff, or the salary of the sheriff. And given that our sheriff has been here a number of years, we think it's a good idea to adopt this resolution to set the starting salary for the sheriff's position, so that the filing fee then is 1% off of the starting salary. According to our pay system that we have, the sheriff position is classified as a grade 78 with a starting salary of $76,680. So by adopting this resolution to set the starting salary at that rate, the filing fee would then be a 1% of that starting salary rate. So we're asking you to adopt that now, well in advance of the election, so that the filing fee can be most appropriate.
Questions? Now, this is statute, so this is not a county policy or procedure.
That's correct.
Chairman, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to adopt the resolution.
Have a motion to adopt the resolution as presented. Any further comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 So we have it unanimous. Not opposed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now, at this point, we are going to have a closed session for,
Chairman's.
I'm sorry, for the, we'll add that on at the end, Chairman's report. I have not much do I have a report. There are some good things going on in Person County. I did attend a couple of those over the weekend with Relay for Life and the fire prevention deal that was going on at Lowe's. And then yesterday, Allensville Fire Department, I had a sort of a family day at their department, a little bit of a celebration as well for the new rating in their fire district. I believe a rating of 5, which is very good for the citizens in that district. And on hand at that one yesterday was again Insurance Commissioner Mike Causey and his assistant. So he's shown up twice now in Person County in the last couple of 3 weeks. So that was commendable. And so those are 3 good examples of what was going on over the weekend. Lots of activities for our people here in Person County. And that concludes my report. Manager York.
Yes, Commissioners, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you to our new Human Resources Director. She is in her 2nd week, I think. Time flies. So I have with us Miss Miranda Harrison. She has relocated here with her family from Minnesota and has already jumped in quickly. We've had lots of things on her plate, as you might imagine. So I'm happy to have Miranda with us and hope that you will make her feel welcome.
I just wanted to say good morning, commissioners and chairmen, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be part of Person County.
Thank you.
And we thank you for choosing Person County. Look forward to working with you. Commissioner Perrier.
I just want to commend John Hill and the rest of the staff that was involved with hosting the cyclist event at Huck Sansbury. I heard a lot of positive feedback about it, and just want to say job well done.
Commissioner Palmer.
Yes, following up with Commissioner Pereira, I visited across the street here with Cycling Across Carolina 4 times last Tuesday, I believe it was. It was a top-notch event. Everybody that I spoke to were very grateful. I believe I sent you all the email regarding this, but I want the general public to also hear this. It was very well received, very well set up. Ms. Catherine, you and staff did a very good job. Thank you so very much. I was pleased, and it's tempting for me at my age to get out there and try it the next time.
I want to see that.
And that's no joke. It's really tempting. It was really exciting just to watch them come down the road. And then when it took off, I seen them come by my house that morning, top notch.
And I could add to that as well. I heard some of the same comments, but the best comments, I think, came from the participants and their comments about Person County and the reception they had here. And the one that stood out to me the most was, this is the best stop we've had on this tour.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment to not only Mr. Hill and his staff, but the citizens of Person County to receive them.
Yes, sir. I never heard a final number on how many participants that we had, what revenue was brought in. That's it on that report. As far as Commissioner Gentry's recovery, I look forward to having you back with us next month. I'm hearing that you're recovering very well. You're still having a little trouble, but you're still recovering in a timely fashion. And we look forward to having you back with us. That's it for me.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Commissioner Palmer.
Where do I begin, especially after the public comments? First of all, I think it's very sad that someone wants to bring up a commissioner's personal life, if you will, mentioning about whether you have a wife or a girlfriend. I don't know how that ties into the EDC or the Uptown Roxborough Group or even this board. And I think it's pretty pathetic that someone would do that. It's pretty sad. And I just hope that we don't have to deal with that in the future. I don't think it's necessary. Secondly, again, last meeting I did mention about the task force. And again, my concern, as I said before, is that all the recommendations were made somewhere by the end of May. And here we are now going to get a report November 1st. I'm looking forward to that report and looking forward to what they have to say and their suggestions. But again, my concern is how long we set on this recommendation. And so that's my concern. And I know other people look at it differently. And the other thing with the Uptown Roxborough Group, the Uptown Roxborough Group, someone says, why did you not say anything about Task Force Uptown Roxborough Group? Number one, listening to the meetings, and you all can listen to them, they're not very clear when you're listening to it Zoom. And it was during a time where we could not attend like we can attend here. So, you couldn't really pick up on everything that's being said. And so my thing is that, again, I'm looking forward to that report, and it's the reason why we're not saying anything to anyone until we know exactly what's going to come out of that report from that task force. So with that, the other thing I wanted to mention, a positive, as Chairman Powell mentioned, you know, we attended a ceremony for the volunteer fire departments and fire departments last week. And just like to mention, the ISO ratings were dropped at about 4 fire departments. The Roxborough City was at a 2. The Roxborough County was at a 4. Allensville went to a 5, and Hurl Mills went to a 6. And that is commendable for those fire departments. It's a lot of hard work to reduce and get the ISO rating reduced. And it also saves money for the people that live in those districts for their fire insurance, and they need to be commended for that. So thank you to all those who worked hard and diligently on lowering their ISO rating. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gentry.
No, sir. I'm still at home recovering. Anxious to get back to life. Don't like the restrictions I have right now, but my body will tell me when it's ready. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and best wishes. And at this point, do we have a motion or comment? Let's go with Attorney Hankins as to why we need a closed session for General Statute 143, 318, 11.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. If one of the commissioners would please offer it, the appropriate motion is, I move that the board go into closed session to consult with our attorney on a confidential legal matter under the statute the chairman just mentioned, GS 143-318.11A3. I recommend that the board invite into the closed session the clerk, the county manager, and planning director.
I think we're also going to add the assistant county manager as well to that.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Go into closed
So
session.
moved.
Have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll pause for.
We're going to call back on her phone.
Yeah. You got that? We'll call you back on your phone, Commissioner Gentry.
Yes, sir. Thank you.